Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Crossover Deep Dive. Today I am very excited because I have in the studio with me Peter Danish.
Good to see you, Natasha.
It's very good to see you in person.
Yes. We correspond regularly online.
But it's always great to take, I feel like Zoom is normally the first step, or call, and then you get to do this.
Almost all the time, yes.
So thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure, and Rita's pleasure. You'll see her momentarily.
Yes, we're going to have some fantastic music for you, but before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about you. It seems like you have such a fascinating career, very varied,
Yes.
but the thread is storytelling. So I'm curious if that was a tradition in your family or if it was great novels that got you into it.
It was a little bit of both.
Okay.
I'm a voracious reader, as is Rita. We could talk about that for an entire show. But that was my passion early on, to write. And for a very long time, I wrote for other people. I was writing at various television networks. And then it wasn't until I hit years old that I decided I wanted to write for myself. And I wrote a novel called The Tenor, which has been translated into a bunch of languages, about an operatic tenor who meets a young Maria Callas. He was an Italian soldier stationed in Greece during World War II, and he met this young 15-year-old girl who was this extraordinary singer, but she was starving to death. And he couldn't fathom that idea after hearing her sing, and he was sneaking her food and sneaking her family things. And that's the basic storyline of that. The novel did very well, which encouraged me to write another one. I've played in bands for 1,000 years, and during COVID, Rita came to me and said, "Peter, I'm a singer, I need to sing." And they were not playing anywhere, they were not touring anywhere, so she knew that I wrote music all the time, and she said, "Do you have anything we could possibly do together?" I said, let me take a look and see what's in the pile. And she said, "You did a song a year or so ago with Aprile Milo, the great Metropolitan Opera soprano."
Ave Maria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was an Ave Maria that we did as a benefit for Hurricane Matthew victims in Haiti a few years ago. And I put together what I think at the time was the world's first virtual orchestra.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm the classical music editor at BroadwayWorld.com. And I put it out online. Anyone who wants to be a part of a charity single with this world-famous opera singer, drop me a note.
That's good, yeah.
Big mistake. Hundreds and hundreds of people applied and said, "We want to perform on this single." And it was bedlam. So I had to suddenly send out musical parts for all these instruments that I didn't know how to write for. So what I got back was a melange of stuff, which
Beautiful.
Mixing it took a lot longer
Yes,
than
that must have been a nightmare.
It was fun. My best friend was the engineer at Tony Bennett's studio in New Jersey, and I gave them all to him, and he put it all together into
Bless
this
him.
cohesive
Thank you.
bunch. And Aprile recorded it, and Rita said, "I would love to do that song. I always loved that one." And I said, "Well, it's a duet. Are you okay with a duet?" And she said, "I'll sing both parts." And she did, and it was ravishing. It was on our first CD. And I will tell you that after she did that, I said, "Let's do some more." And she says, "What do you got?" And this idea came during COVID when everyone was so depressed and not seeing anyone and not going out and not doing anything.
Yeah.
That we had this idea for a collection of prayers from various faiths, sacred scriptures, sacred texts, but put to original music. And that's how it came about. And then we decided maybe we'll throw in a couple of traditional ones, just so people can hear some familiar melodies, but we'll do new arrangements of them. And we gave it a bit of a classical crossover, new agey feel, an ethereal, gauzy kind of thing, Enya-ish type style, Haley Weston Ra, that kind of sound, and it did very, very well. And then we suddenly got asked to perform it live, which we had not even considered, because in the studio, you can lay as many tracks down as you want. You could, put little bells in here, let's put a violin here, let's put in a celeste here. And then when you sit down to try and do it live, you realize we're going to need a lot of musicians to make this work. How are we going to do this? So we started thinking broad stroke. When you suggested performing up here, I said, gosh, last time we did it live, it was 19 people, I think. No, we did it with 12. I said, let's do guitar, piano, and cello and make it like an unplugged session.
I love it.
And that was what we pared it down to. And that way, Rita's a little bit more vocally forward in the mix.
Yeah.
And you get to hear the words and hear her voice, obviously, which is, beautiful.
She's a beautiful voice. And I think if you have great music, it sounds good at both levels, right? I think sometimes if it's not, you kind of have to fudge it where you really need that greatness.
I would agree.
But when you're able to go down to that simplest level, you can really tell the quality.
Also, I was lucky because Rita speaks a lot of languages. On the first CD, she sang in 8 different languages. Wow. On the 12 or 13 tracks. And no matter what I threw at her, she was game. And that was fun. She sings Russian, Croatian, English, French, Italian, Spanish. Wow. But then Hebrew, I really, didn't make it easy for her. Because she's also a stickler for authenticity. She wanted it to sound correct. So she really worked really hard with folks to make absolutely certain that she was authentic, because we didn't want it to be cultural appropriation. We wanted it to be a tribute.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you got to put in the work, and that was essentially my end was easy, because writing music is abstract and it's fun, and you can sit there coming up with harmonies. But I'm looking at a monitor right now that says Bože vili ke jedi nedi nam Ukraine.
Yep.
This is the next one we're going to do. It's in Ukrainian. And I don't speak Ukrainian. So I'd heard the prayer as a child, normally done by a great big group of old men in long black coats with long black beards and big funny hats, and they had double bass baritone voices.
Oh,
so
yes.
I thought, Rita Harvey.
It really
natural,
is
right?
a natural conclusion, yeah.
And when I played it for her, she said, wow, what am I supposed to do with this? And I said, everything. And we recorded the track, and she is every voice on the track. There's no music. It's like eight tracks of voice, and it's really, really cool. And she was up for trying all of the low notes, all of the crazy high notes, and then we went into the studio and blended it into chords. So that was a lot of fun and challenging, but at the end of the day,
and stunning.
Thank you.
And that's how we connected.
That's how we connected, exactly.
The prayer for Ukraine.
Yeah.
So it's this music. I saw you guys also did Irish Blessing. There's kind of a theme of hopefulness, of peace. Yes. Is that something you want to bring to your audiences?
That's everything about it has to be that.
Yeah.
We didn't want any dark, depressing. Well, that was another thing. I noticed that I didn't even realize I had done that in the liner notes for the first record. Things like we did the Lord's Prayer on the first record. And let's face it, Christianity they've cornered the market on music when it comes to, there's millions.
Oh, yeah.
When you start looking at Islam and Buddhism, and it's a little bit tougher to find a big literature of religious, spiritual stuff. Looking at so many of the hymns that I grew up with, I grew up Catholic, there was always kind of a fire and brimstone, kind of a solemnness to everything. And what we kind of agreed on early on was we wanted to be joyful. Not solemn, not fearful, but joyous.
Yeah.
And she agreed 100%. And that kind of was the candle that lit the path for everything that we decided on. She'd throw things at me, I'd throw things at her, and it worked out nicely.
Well, it's a beautiful album.
Thank you.
The other thing I'm curious about, you mentioned being an editor. So I feel like sometimes we hear those who can't, like they critic, but you do both. You are a creator. And you're also doing reviews. So do those influence each other at all? Like, do you ever think when you're in creator mode about the editor mode, or vice versa?
Sometimes. I'll tell you why. Because as an editor, I think artists in general, and you're an artist yourself, so artists tend to be indulgent because it's just the nature of art. And you never, ever want to tamper or tamp down someone's creativity, ever.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean everything you create is great.
Very much so.
So you sometimes need that. I think that everyone should be allowed to run wild with their ideas, but a good editor is your best friend.
Yes.
Because it's a fresh perspective, it's a more analytical perspective. Plus, when you hear something in your head, it's like listening to your voice on a recording. Like, wow, do I really sound like that?
It's true.
But it's the same thing with writing and with composing. You hear something in your head that you're playing at the piano, and then you listen to the recording and you say, I hear it differently than I'm actually playing it. What's missing?
Yeah.
An editor only hears what's on the printed page, so to speak. And the ability to pare it down, to translate it, to compress it, to make it into something that's more, not just easier digestible or something like that, but more understandable for an audience. Trying to find that happy medium is really hard. It's really hard. As a writer, I edit reviews.
Yeah.
The difficulty with reviews is you want the writer to always be honest, but you also want them to be respectful of the fact that if you're reviewing art, you can't just look at what happened at that given moment in time. The example I always give is baseball. Mm-hmm. Okay? A soprano goes out, sings Traviata, 17,000 notes over the course of an evening. She'll sing one bad note flat in a very exposed moment and get a lousy review.
Yeah.
What was her batting average? 999.999,
Yeah, exactly.
but they still give her a lousy review.
Think of that note, yeah.
Because that one note is what they judge her by. They don't tend to use the same standard. And I encourage my writers, think about the whole thing. How much did it move you? Not was it letter perfect? Because at the end of the day, I judge everything by how much it moves me. And I think we'd be in a better space in general if we judged everything that way, by the ability, how much did this communicate to me? How much did it touch me? How much did it move me? Rather than, was it letter perfect? She was flat. She was singing Glitter and Be Gay, and there's an E sharp, and she was a little bit flat on that note. I wasn't impressed. You say, good Lord, she had an unbelievable, 10 minutes prior to that, exposed, beautiful, incredible, but that crazy, insane high note, you can't judge someone by their worst moment.
Yeah.
You got to judge them by their whole performance. And that's what, as an editor, what I try and do with the writers. It's not easy. It's not easy.
No, but I think that balance is so important because we've heard things like, Rennie Fleming getting booed, which is crazy, and then it affects you for such a long time. So like to have a little bit of compassion by understanding both sides. And then again, as you're saying, kind of editing yourself when you're in performer mode, it's great.
I'm not a singer. Thank God.
But you sing.
You won't hear me.
You sing.
I sing anyway. But that being said, so in a sense, I'm not the one making the first. I write something and I give it to you as the interpretive artist to take it, to communicate.
To the world,
And ideally, I'm also asking you to elevate my work, to bring all of your soul into that work and make it something more than it was. And that's half the beauty of it. When all things work together, it's always bigger than the sum of the parts.
Well, this album is a wonderful example of that. We'll get to hear it here in the studio. My last question is for people that are multi-passionate like you, because you literally have your fingers in so many pots. Yeah. How do you keep yourself organized? Do you prioritize one at a time, or how does that work? Because I'm sure people have tried to pigeonhole you into one. Yeah,
that always happened. Well, I worked in television for years.
Yeah.
Before I left TV and started writing. I would say that what I personally find is when I've got a deadline for a work project, something I'm writing for a client per se, whether it's a jingle, whether it's a song, whether it's an article, whatever particular discipline it's in, I find if I run into a roadblock, I'll pick up my guitar. And that'll work a different part of the brain and then come back to it. If I'm at the piano trying to figure out something, I'll sit down and work on an article just to get a different part of the brain. Sometimes when you hit a wall,
Oh, yeah.
step aside of the wall.
Yeah.
Don't keep banging your head against it. You're not going to gain anything. It's like laying in bed when you can't sleep. Like, God, if I don't fall asleep in the next 10 minutes, I'm not going to, I've got to fall asleep. Similarly with work, I personally find that not razor focusing on something helps me. Mm-hmm. It gets other juices flowing and other ideas flowing, and then I can come back to something with a new perspective. A lot of great writers would say, I write from 8 until 10 every morning. That's it. I could never do that.
Yeah.
I find that once the creativity starts flowing, whatever else I have to do, I put it aside.
Yeah.
Don't turn off the faucet until it runs out. Then you can worry about getting to the other things. But when creativity strikes, just go with it. And I find that with Rita too, because she has to deal with the physical reality of muscles,
Yes.
like you as a singer know you have
Yes.
to deal with. And sometimes we were doing a number earlier that I kept screwing up. And she's looking at me and I'm like, I'm killing her. I'm absolutely killing her, making her sing this thing 5 times. And I didn't do it on purpose, honestly. But you reach that point where you say, okay, I can play it till the cows come home. But she's got 2 little folds of skin,
So
2
tiny.
little muscles
Yes.
that have to be kept nourished. And asking her to do this over and over again, they're muscles like any other, they get tired.
Yeah.
And you have to be cognizant of that fact and be aware that I got to get my stuff together because because there's a human element
Yes.
to this as well. And the human element is beautiful because it brings, the passion and the heart and the soul of a piece. Notes on a page are just notes on a page. It takes, in fact, I'm going to do a plug here. I wrote a play.
Yes. Coming out soon in the new year.
Coming out next year about the final meeting between Leonard Bernstein and Herbert von Karajan. Keep calm and carry on. And that's one of the things they debate. Is music, does it exist even? Like the tree falling in the woods, does it exist until the electricity has come into it? What is it? Is it the performance? Is this actually music? Is a composition until it's performed? How do you define the art form?
Yeah.
And it's an intellectual debate, but it's also a very personal debate. Because what it takes into consideration is that 1 million different interpreters are going to do it in 1 million different ways.
Yeah.
So is there one way to do it right, one way to do it wrong? Music exists in the air. Birds sing. They can't read music.
Nope.
So you know what I'm saying. You get the general idea.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Peter. And everyone, please sit back and enjoy the wonderful music of Peter Danish and
Rita Harvey.
Rita Harvey.
Thank you. The sound you're listening to is the sound of the sun as recorded by NASA. Throughout the ages, man has given thanks and prayed to the sun for its life-giving warmth, energy, and light.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All through the night, I'm gonna let it shine. it shine, let it shine, let it Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. You are the bow through which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. Oh, ever has it been that love knows not its own depth until the hour of our separation. Yesterday is only today's memory. Tomorrow is nothing but today's dream. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of souls. Out of suffering has emerged the strongest souls, and the greatest souls are seared with scars. Oh, ever has it been that love knows not its own depth until the hour of our separation. Yesterday is only today's memory. Tomorrow is nothing but today's dream. Your pain is just the breaking of the shell that encloses understanding. Remember that the earth loves to feel your bare feet, and the wind loves to play in your hair. Oh, ever has it been that love knows not its own depth until the hour of our separation. Yesterday is only today's memory. Tomorrow is nothing but today's dream. Oh, ever has it been love knows not its own depth until the hour of our separation. Yesterday is only today's memory. Tomorrow is nothing but today's dream. of our Lord, from the King who reigns over all kings, the Holy One, blessed is He. Bless me with peace, angels of peace, angels of our Lord, from the King who reigns over all kings, the Holy One, blessed is He. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharit, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlakim Akadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlachim Hakadosh Baruch Hu. People are often self-centered, irrational. Forgive them anyway. If you're kind, they'll accuse you of ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you're successful, you'll win unfaithful friends and real enemies. Be successful anyway. If you're honest and sincere, some will try to deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. What you spend years creating could vanish overnight. Create it anyway. If you find happiness, some will be jealous. Be happy anyway. For the good you do today may be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Do the best that you can, though it never seems enough. Give your best anyway, because in the end, it's not between you and them, it's between you and God anyway. Because in the end, it's not between you and them, it's between you and